Voilà, j'allume ma caméra. Je suis bien contente d'être là avec
Hello, welcome. I'm happy to be here with you today. So we're very happy to participate to this great day about digital in education. So today we're going to present you a workshop about a device, a pedagogical device that we developed in the past year, and we hope that we will propose so when you have to work with in an inclusive environment with your students. So our workshop is called Have You Said HyperDocs? And what does this mean? We'll talk about this. So I want to present to you, I'm Marie-Josée Arnouma. I'm a pedagogical counselor here about scholarly adaptation. And I will animate with my colleague, Martin Gagnon. Martin, do you want to take the floor? Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you here this afternoon, especially since it's Friday afternoon. So my name is Martin, and I am Marie-José's colleague. I'm a new arrival here at the Inclusion and Pedagogical Adaptation. I started at the beginning of the school year. So Martin, I will share in the chat the link to my presentation. So in the chat, you've got the hyperlink. So we advise you to open it on your other screen if you can, because there's some links in there that you'll need to activate. So we will share these links in the chat, but sometimes it's just easier to click directly in the presentation. So Martin, you're going to talk about what's coming up. Yes, it's a very quick workshop, but we hope we can inspire you. So the menu here, it is, we will talk about the history of the project. We'll talk about what's in HyperDoc, the pedagogical approaches, and how to plan a HyperDoc. So we'll make you think about all of this at the end of the workshop to show you what is a HyperDoc activity. So let's talk about the history of the project. Oh, I see you can't connect to the presentation. Oh, we made a presentation that was open to all. So we'll do the presentation, and while Martin will be speaking, I'll try to help you out. So the history here of the project. So there's a question that came up, which was, we were talking a lot about inclusion, and the question was, what's the difference between a regular planning and an inclusive planning? So it's the question here. So as we talked with people and thought about it to see that difference and what we can add to one or the other, what's missing, we figured out that sorry, I'm trying to read the chat at the same time right now. So we saw an American site, which was called HyperDocs. And it's really something interesting. So we asked directly to the American site, and we were able to develop all of this in collaboration with counselors in Laval and with a colleague in AAC, Isabelle, which is also at La Capitale. So together we all worked, we had the rights to translate the American side, and that's why we're coming up with a new creation, and for the first time in French. So after this, Martin, I think it's, oh no, wait up, it's still my turn, it's still my turn. So I will move on to the next slide. Oh, not too far. So a HyperDoc. You need to come back one slide, Martin. Oh, right, one moment. Okay, here we are. All right, perfect. So you can see we have digital challenges as well. So what we see is that all the dimensions of digital skills are involved when we're working in HyperDocs devices. We can develop digital learning. We can also touch on problem resolution. Everything is involved. So all these dimensions are involved. And we need to see what's the angle here. What's our pedagogical intent here behind our approach when we use the dimension wheel. So now we will welcome you to try a bit of an activity. So in your opinion, what's a HyperDoc? Quickly like this. What's a HyperDoc for you? Perhaps you've never heard this term, even though we talked a little bit about it. So what do you think is a HyperDoc? I will stop the screen share right now to show the answers. So Marie-Josée has shared in the chat. Yes, the link is already in the chat, and I see some people on screen, some answers. So I will share the screen. Martin, can you confirm if you see the answers on my screen? Yes? Oh, do you see my screen sharing? You see all my desktop? Yes, I see all your desktop right now. You can see how I'm so well organized. So here with the WooClap, we see your answers. So we're talking about a document, an interactive document. What's interesting with WooClap is that we can see a cloud of words. So we could see all of your answers in a list form, which would be easier to digest or read when it's time to analyze all of this. Or we could also put it in table form. So I will come back to the cloud of words and the answers. There's so many answers coming in. So collaborative document, websites, document with hyperlinks, a digital document. So what I see in your answers is that you've heard of this concept before. So I will stop screen sharing, Martin. Yes. All right. And I will share my screen again. So in the chat, there's some people that gave some answers. Oh, it's a document with links. It's interactive. So, yep. So thank you, Jody, for telling us the link is working if you're on the Digital Education Day website. Thank you, Jody. So now that we have a bit of a common definition and you shared your opinion, so what's a HyperDoc? We went with a more formal definition. So it's not a paper document. You need to work with the digital document, and it will be full of hypertext links, which will lead to resources that the student needs to do their tasks. So it's an interactive document, and it includes disciplinary content. So there's a pedagogical intent behind the disposal of the hypertext layout. So there will also be some reflexive questions. They will have to think about various tasks, perhaps some metacognitive tasks, and we'll have some videos that will also bring some explanations. So we can have these videos of certain, that will talk about certain notions, all this in our HyperDoc. So it's going to be used with the Google Suite and Microsoft. At first, people only worked with Google, but we've also worked with Microsoft, and it's not a problem. All right. So now, Martin, tell me, a real HyperDoc, it's much more than links on a document. Yes, the first time I worked, when I came on the job, when you were talking to me about a HyperDoc, what came up to mind is a document Word, kind of a work plan where there's many links and the students can follow this and do their work. But it's a lot more than just this. A HyperDoc is teachers that choose deliberately web tools to give students to give students the opportunity to explore, to share, to think, and to enrich their knowledge. So the choice of digital tools is thought out to give every student a voice. So for example, if I have a HyperDoc activity, a story to tell, I don't have to do it in text form. I could record my voice, add images. I could do a video of me that's explaining the story. So it's to show each student. So students also have their ability to develop their critical thinking and and their problem solving abilities with the tasks that they can do, and then they can communicate the learnings they've done through the creation of authentic digital products and to share it with a real public. So if I was a student, I would love to get engaged in a task since I'll be able to share my findings and my story to kindergarten students or publish it on the school website and parents will be able to read it. So it's very engaging for students. All right, so this is a bit of a conceptual approach. Oh, thank you. I shared the link again in the chat. So I hope this will work. So what is a HyperDoc and what is it not? So I will rephrase what Martin said. So what it is a digital interactive lesson which allows the students to do deep learning. So it's not just hyperlinks. So obviously, yes, there are some links, but you need to do some deep learning. It's a digital lesson that will deeply engage the student as well. So it's used in inclusive classes to promote more of a hybrid teaching style. And when I'm talking about efficient teaching methods, yes, we really want to make our teaching shine. And it's also an approach that's centered on pedagogical differentiation. So we're still in tryout phases, and right now it's in secondary school, and the students, it's and it was put into place very quick. It was not a scientific approach. There were some trials done with the HyperDoc in class, and it was simply put in place. And the teacher said, oh, the students loved it. It had completely changed their attitude toward learning. And it also gives her time to intervene while the students are working on the HyperDoc. Then I can work with smaller groups and intervene there and do some more targeted approach with various unique students. So it's not a digital version of a exercise sheet. It's not that at all. It's not good old traditional teaching. It's not information consumption on a digital device. That's not it either. So we ask that this be interactive, and it's not a Google product either. It was a tool that was used with Google at first, but we can use it with any other devices or platforms. And it's not a uniform planification because not all students work at the same pace. So yes, I just read a comment in the chat, and yes, it really worked well in the tryouts we've had. Charlene will call, let's have a call and look at all of this together. It's no problem at all. And we can help you put this into place. So I would like to add, Marie-Josée, that the first HyperDoc activities do not have to be perfect. So that's why we'll show you one. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. We'll show you how to plan a HyperDoc activities in section style, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So when you're beginning, just be, yeah, you don't have to be perfect. That's all. It also allows a variety of strategy to teach. It also allows to have more interaction between the teachers and students between themselves as well. So collaboration is a key aspect of HyperDoc. You also have more flexibility in the pedagogical teaching. It's a multimodal approach as well, because a bit later we'll show you the types of resources that you can have in there. And it's a pedagogical differentiation as well. So the different pedagogical approaches that are behind HyperDocs, there are several of them. So there's the pedagogical differentiation, because we'll give some choices to the student. That's the great strength of HyperDocs. So the student can choose, can make choices, and obviously we need to propose them choices, but it allows them to pick their choices. So there's also cooperative learning. So cooperative learning is very important. For example, we can ask students to work together on various tasks. There's also the universal conception of learning, because we're working with digital tools. So all digital tools can be put at the disposal of the students. And we need to think outside the box. There's so many tools available here. So we need to think big and broad. So this will allow us to perhaps familiarize our students with technology. We're also going to talk about the 4 C's. So here, because it's a translation, we kept this into the 4 C's: the critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, all of which are present in digital skills and digital aptitudes. And of course, the 12 dimensions of digital competence and skills. So these are the pedagogical approaches behind HyperDoc, and it's great to be able to work in this way. So I'm sold on this idea here. So for the 4 C's, only one slide. On the American side, we talk a lot about the 4 C's. So we've put the video here. If you're curious, you can go see the video when you have some time. And we also brought back the 12 dimension of digital competence, because there's a direct link with the 4 C's in Quebec. So that's what we're talking about here. So Martin, when we're working with a translated document, we need to adapt it to the culture and to the concepts of the system with which we work. That's why we do some parallels here. Is it my turn, Martin? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's my slide. So in the chat, we had a question. Is the training done here? Will we learn how to do some trainings? But yeah, well, we're still working on this. We're going to give you a bit of a procedure to allow you to kind of get started with all of this. You're not going to be completely autonomous yet, but we want you to get your hands on these tools as soon as possible. So how can we build a HyperDoc? It's done in 5 steps. That's what we propose here. So obviously the first step is to define your pedagogical intent. If that's not very clear, it's going to be very easy to get lost in every which way. So what do we evaluate here with this as well? So we're going to show you an example, and I'll talk about this intent later. And the intent was that to make sure that the students understand the different parts of the body. So you'll see the different inclusive choice that need to be made there. So a HyperDoc, it could last 2 weeks, or it might last 1 period. So it's something that's very great here is that there's a ton of flexibility with planning. So we could perhaps say, oh, we'll put a HyperDoc, we could allocate a lot of time on this or not. After that, the second phase is to determine the learning and teaching phases. On the American side, they don't talk about it in the same way, so we brought it back to what we know here, which is preparation, realization, and integration. So it's important, you see here the steps. So for example, in the parentheses, you have create interest, explore, share. That's going to be the plan of a HyperDoc. And we associated this with our teaching steps and learning steps.
And it's also very important to reflect on the path. What path do we want the students to take to acquire and develop the competency or the knowledge that we are looking for in our classroom? The third step, the third question would be, what digital tools should be used? As you see, digital tools are thought of after the pedagogical intention. So the digital aspect is at the service of pedagogy. This is what we liked in this arrangement. So once we've identified our intention, we can say, okay, I think this tool will be best adapted. Oh, I think I'd rather use this other digital resource to support the work of my students. That's why I insisted earlier on the first step, which is the pedagogical intention. This is what is going to orient the choice of digital tools later on. The fourth step is, well, we want students to be autonomous because we're developing that as a skill, but that doesn't mean they won't need us. That's not the goal. The goal is that we are supporting them. So in the HyperDoc, we might have a more virtual support, but that does not remove our intervention as a teacher. That means at some points we say, okay, we need to have a workshop or with people. Sometimes when they're at that stage, we'll do a subgroup or a workshop. So we include the digital tools with our teaching, with our organization of the teaching time. So then the fifth step is the design. So we give a document to the student. We have pedagogical planning, but the student needs to know what support they have so that they can go through the steps appropriately and that they develop their learning and their skills as best as possible. I hope this gives you an idea. You might tell me this is exactly what you're doing, but of course we have digital tools that are coming into this process because we're working with HyperDocs. Martin, can you tell us about the sections? This might not be clear to you yet. Let's look at the sections we must integrate in the HyperDoc. We've created an image, a graph to help you understand. At the center of this process, we have pedagogical intention with arrows going in both directions. That's a cycle because students will go through their HyperDoc. So they'll go back and forth between different sections. We have 7 sections. The first one is to get their interest. This is where we want to inspire students. We would add a quote, a video that will inspire students, give them the will to engage in our activity. Then we have another section called Explore. This is where we'll give them a list of resources into this section. For example, students can view this list of resources from the onset. And if the student is now putting things into practice, they might say they have no ideas left, they have no inspiration. They'll always be able to get back to the explore phase or section. This is why they go back and forth between sections. In the explain section, we explain the objectives of the activity. And in putting into practice, we have the opportunity to create a task to allow students to put in practice what they have acquired. In the share section, we will collect the work of the students to give them feedback and allow them to share to a real existing public. And in the reflect section, we will plan for meetings with the students to guide them throughout their learning process and set new objectives with them. And in the last section, enriching or building, we will add resources to build on their learning so that students who want to go further can do so. And on the left, we have the various resources that can be added in the sections of our HyperDoc. We can add videos, images, sounds, quotes, articles, graphs, text excerpts, links, etc. There might be other resources you might think of. It's very varied. You can add many resources, and we talk about inclusion. That's exactly what we are talking about. These various resources will be accessible to all of our students, no matter what their need is. What's interesting is the multimodality. It's the fact that with these resources, we are addressing things from all perspectives. It's not just reading. We have audio, we have videos. So that's how we are reaching out to the greatest number of students. It gives them access to information in various ways. That's what's truly interesting. Now, Martin, now is the time to work a bit and to give a presentation of what this could look like, this HyperDoc document. What we will share now is not perfect, and that is the intention. The goal of our activity is to get you to have a critical thinking process about this. So in light of what we've presented, what would you propose to the teacher who has produced this to improve their product? As we know, there are parts or pieces missing. We're very honest about that. And in the chat in Zoom, I'm going to share this something. I hope it'll work for you. The HyperDoc presentation that addresses the um, wonderful story. So thank you, Charlotte. I'm a bit less nervous when you give me such feedback. And then you can use the analysis grid if you don't remember everything we've said. So I'm going to share. Did I put the analysis grid there? Thank you, Maryse. Maryse Gélina, ladies and gentlemen, who wanted me to say that she's among us today. I'm now going to share the analysis grid. You can use that as a reminder to get back to what we've discussed. So we wanted to let you look at this. We thought you could have 3 or 4 minutes to delve into this and then get back to us, because we can't open everybody's microphone, but we'd like to, it's not the grid, it's the PPT. Oh, I shared the wrong thing. Sorry. Give me a moment. I'm going to share the right link. So we'll give you a bit of time to analyze this, to go over this, and I'm going to share my screen as well. And in the PowerPoint of the story activity, you'll see that the links are clickable, so you can navigate in the PowerPoint document. So we will look at the HyperDoc activity and analyze if anything is missing. We talked about the 4 C's and 12 dimensions of digital competency. Be critical and tell us from the analysis grid, what could we have added? Yes, Isabelle, my answer is yes. But I'm going to be silent so that people can concentrate. Thank you, Mathieu, for the link. Yes, it is slow. Yes, so there are many of us on the network.
Martin, je vois des réponses qui rentrent dans le document.
Martin, I see answers are coming into the document. Some very good answers, by the way. Mr. Luc, if you go back up into the chat, our colleague Mathieu Bernard shared the link of the grid. I'm going to post it again.
Ah, d'accord, les gens ne voient pas les messages.
Okay, see, people cannot see the messages in the chat.
Merci, Joss, de me dire ça.
Thank you, Joss, to tell me that. We'll let you finish your analysis because we'd like to respect the time that was allotted to us in our presentation. You can keep writing in the document. Many things were said. I took the opportunity to look into what you've said, and it is true. HyperDoc and IMAT is something that's quite interesting, and it is being developed by my colleagues. I don't want to put the pressure on them, but they are thinking about this, and this is being used in other fields. So will it be deposited on my classroom? It is a place where we could do that. But as I said at the beginning, it was published quite a bit on the Anglophone side. It's on the Francophone side. If you want to have a HyperDoc, a French HyperDoc in the Quebec training program, there aren't that many because we are the beginning of this initiative. So there we go. That is part of the answer I can give you for now. We had other questions. Martin, what is the difference between an SAV and a HyperDoc? So HyperDoc refreshes the SAI. It is a digital document. It is the same thing, but the SAE can be a long-term tool. That's why I said HyperDoc is a tool or a platform on which we are applying the teaching and learning procedure. I hope I'm answering your question. So, Martin, I don't want to share all of my desktop as I did. Okay, can you see only the grid? Yes. Okay, that's much better. I'm an organized person usually. So what we've proposed is that, okay, it says here the pedagogical intention is not clear, but for the student, but maybe it was for the teacher. So I'm reminding you that the intention is that the student must appropriate, take ownership of the characteristics of the story. That is why at the end, when we get to the step where we ask the student to produce something, it's not a problem if it's producing a comic or a document or a digital book, because the goal is not grammar. The goal is to see if the student has the characteristics that are necessary. So the product that we're looking for has an influence on this. If we ask the student to check the grammar in the story, by example, conjugation and grammar, we might have chosen other tools to do that. So, okay, you've made comments about uh, things we need to improve, things we could do to improve things. There is no activation of previous knowledge. These are all very relevant comments. What we are doing now is helping you, if you want to produce one of these, it'll get you to think about how to do things. What I liked about what Martin showed us is it allows us to not forget about anything. Oh yes, I forgot to activate this or that, activate that or that step. So it's a to-do list. It's like a list of reminders. And what we saw in this production exercise, there was no collaboration space for students. Could they have done this in a team? Could they have shown their production to anyone? So there was lacking, this was lacking when we do all these steps. We don't need to go through all these steps. It always depends on the pedagogical intention that you have at the onset, of course. So thank you very much for your participation. I hope that this has given you a few ideas and an idea of how this could come about, what this could look like if you had to do one of these. And Marie-Josée, we will also introduce our sub-site to show people where they can find all the resources, because sometimes we forget about things. We will delve into our first HyperDoc and maybe we will forget things. So I'm going to share my screen here. So meanwhile, the analysis grid you proposed, this is the first version. So if we know that we can reflect further on the elements that we've added to our analysis grid, we could do that. But it's the first draft. Exactly. Thank you for your appreciation of our exploration. If I go to the site of the récitas.ca, this is a sub-site that leads us here. So you have the theoretical aspect, but we've explained what is a HyperDoc. We've got the pedagogical approaches, and what you want to plan a HyperDoc, you have, among others, the sections here, and you can copy this document and start planning your first HyperDoc activity. So you click here, you have all the steps that I presented earlier, the 7 steps, and all you have to do is fill out the various sections and give that to your students. And also we have a section where Marie-Josée could explain to us the share section right here. Yes, earlier someone said, in my classroom, could we deposit this in my classroom? Yes, but we've already thought about a section where if you create HyperDocs, you could share them with us, because this is work. It's very nice when you've done all of this work. It's a lot of upstream work. And this is what our project text says. It's a lot of upstream work. But once you deploy this in class, you're gaining time and quality in your pedagogical activity. So it would be nice to be able to share this together. So taking a form, sorry, I'm having a hard time with the computer. This is my second upgrade today, and my computer is tired. So we could then use this place to share your resources. And so I manage this. I will put on our site the work that people will share. There we go. Thank you. So I'm going to get back to the presentation. Jody is saying the site is related to the PDF. For those of you who don't know this, for English speakers, in the school adaptation subsection. Yes, so Martin, we've worked so well that we are practically at the end of our presentation. And because you've taken the time to listen to us, we want to thank you for that. So there's a digital badge um, that we are giving after this workshop. So as we are not the first workshop of the day, you probably know the procedure. Go to Campus Récit, log on, choose your connection, Microsoft or Google, and with the link that we are giving you in the presentation, you'll be able to obtain the participant badge of our workshop. We're very happy to hand that out to you as a present. So Martin. So time flies. So what will you want to try out next? Now you can answer us. Do people have access to annotations? You can also answer in the chat. Tell us what you feel like trying out next, including the dimensions of the digital competency in your the pedagogical planning, building a HyperDoc or using the HyperDoc analysis grid so you can react through the annotations if you have them, if they're activated, or writing, you can write in the chat. Yes, if you have the reactions, or otherwise tell us in the chat what you intend on doing. That gives us information about what you enjoyed from our presentation. Also, there was building a HyperDoc, let's say it that way. I wanted to say that I have posted the link to obtain the badge in the chat. And I must say, oh, hold on, there was another question. We used PowerPoint for this, but it could be any other platform. We used PowerPoint because Microsoft Suite is the most used in Quebec. So we wanted to show you it's possible to do that with what we already have. That's why we used this platform. So everybody says they want to try everything out, including the dimensions of the digital competency. Yes, Ms. Isabelle Denis says we want to regroup several digital resources in the same place. So we have a concern for students who have a organization difficulty. So whether you're in remote or in person, it helps these students that might have a hard time organizing or understanding where to go and making their way through all the documents we send them. So yes, it could be building a HyperDoc as a team. That could be interesting to explore how students react, and we can also collaborate with other classes. Yes, spending a lot of time. Yes, you need to think about this. But as I said, this is profitable time. We spend a lot of time in thinking about this, but once you're in class, you will gain time with your students. Thank you for your feedback. Building a HyperDoc, yes. Talk about this with your pedagogical counselor, Ms. Cathy. There's probably a way to find a way to support you. And of course, we are also at the beginning of this great adventure. So we are very happy with things. If you ask us questions, we'll be happy to answer you because we are still learning as we go. And we are here to help you, yes, in your endeavors. Was there anything else to be said? I'm focused on the comments. Thank you very much. Let's go to the final slide. We are saying that we offer support, but how do we reach out to us? So you can reach us through these email addresses from the Récit. These are the addresses that are on the website that we've presented to you earlier, recitas.ca. You can follow us on our Facebook page at Recitnias, and we are on Facebook, on Twitter. So we do our best to answer your questions and to meet the demand. Two of us are here to support and to think for our students that have a handicap or a more difficulty to adapt. So we do our best to answer your questions and to support you. So thank you very much, Martin, for this great facilitation. Well, thank you. Marie-José, I wanted to add that we talk a lot about accessibility, you and I. I think both of us are quite accessible by email, through our Facebook page. You can reach us quite quickly. We love working with you, so don't be shy. Thank you, Marie-José. Thank you very much. And let us know. Talk to us. Tell us about your HyperDocs and share your experiences. We'll be very happy to hear you on that. So have a nice day, everyone. Thank you. If you have any questions, we have a few minutes left. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Fib grid. Yes, indeed. Very interesting. So it is. Yes, Jocelyn. Yes, we will meet again soon. We're looking forward to meeting in person, aren't we?
Je commence à recevoir des textos
I'm
de
starting to receive text messages. It's fun because we see our colleagues, we see teachers with whom we work. It's very interesting. It's a lot of fun. Yes, it gives us a bit of proximity. Jody, yes, I will contact you, Jody. I miss you. We need to talk about that. We need to make for to organize some time together. I don't know her, so oh, you need to know that person. Oh, I want to meet her. So I think there are no further questions. So let's close this workshop. Thank you to the technical team. Thank you very much.